8 psychological styles of people dealing with money during financial crisis. Global economic and financial crisis can cause a whole range of different kinds of human reactions and lasting effects on our personal life, our physical, and even our mental health. In this video, you will figure out human psychological styles or patterns in facing such problems. Why and how may some people decide to spend more in response to financial crisis? Or why others may choose to be savers? Or maybe your partner would rather like to be a debtor? Or you may both resort to pathological shopping. We are going to answer all these questions and more in this video, so please watch the video to the end. Before we continue, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications. Let's begin. Number 8. Overspenders. All kinds of strange people exist in the world, and many of them are going through a financial crisis. Did you know that nearly 36% of the world is living in extreme poverty? This means billions of people are living in dilapidated conditions right now and are facing the most horrible kinds of financial problems. But even though some people try to save money when they're going through a hard time, there are others who like to spend twice as much. That's right, it may be hard to believe, but there are people out there who cope with financial issues by spending more money instead. This is because they usually feel an impending sense of doom and try to spend their money to distract themselves from it. This also happens because spending money on things they like often distracts them from their money issues. But this is definitely an unhealthy habit because it has the potential to escalate really fast. It's like 1 minute you're getting yourself something small like a bar of chocolate, and the next thing you know, you've shot for goods worth a lot of money. Number 7. Hoarders. As the name suggests, hoarders enjoy saving money obsessively. They're obviously very different from savers, who like to save money so that they can spend it later. But hoarders literally never spend the money they save. They just enjoy saving it. As strange as that sounds, it actually makes a lot of sense. Hoarders find a lot of satisfaction in saving money so that they can have a lot of it. They don't really have plans to spend it, and they barely get anything for themselves, just so that they can increase the amount of money they have in the bank. Hoarders don't just save money, they also like to hoard valuable items, like products made of gold and silver. The idea is to keep increasing the amount of valuables they have, so that their stack of precious things continues to increase over time. This obviously has very toxic effects on a hoarder's life because they lose sight of things that are actually important and keep worrying about how much money they have. Number 6. Savers. You might not be aware of this, but there's a clear difference between not wanting to spend money and obsessively saving it so that you can use it later. Some people limit their spending because they're too afraid to spend more money than they actually have. But there are other people who refrain from spending on their luxuries and also put a stop to their necessities. This behavior is also a byproduct of the psychological stress induced by financial issues. These people open savings accounts in banks and put their money there so that it stays safe and untouched. They also buy expensive jewelry that is made from gold and silver so that they can store it and wait for it to increase in value. Also, people who have faced serious financial issues tend to make more secure investments. This is because even though they want their money to increase, they know that they don't have the privilege to make riskier investments from the money that they have saved. But even though saving money is a good idea, generally, it's important to spend money on yourselves once in a while instead of compulsively. Number 5. Philanthropists. It might seem strange, but some people who face financial issues often go on to become great philanthropists. This could be because people who have faced financial issues themselves can empathize with other people who are going through a tough time too. This is why the people who have the least are often the ones who give the most. The formula is simple. It all relies on a sense of brotherhood and shared empathy for people. It also takes a lot of courage to give away your own money to help someone else in their time of need, especially if you don't have a lot of money in the first place. But it's also important to remember to help yourself first whenever you can. So if you're going through severe financial troubles, try solving your own problems first and spend your money wisely instead of only helping other people out. This will not only put you in a better place, but might also allow you to save more money and then help more people out. Number 4, investors. Investors are quite literally the people who work best under pressure. So when they're faced with a financial struggle, they think about the best and most effective way to get out of it. This financial personality type tends to worry very little about their financial shortcomings. Instead of stressing out, they are proactive and try to come up with solutions to solve their problems. They tend to make a range of passive investments that are meant to provide them with sufficient income to cover all their bills in the future. To put it simple, investors are really smart. Their actions are driven by careful decision making, and their investments also reflect the need for calculated risks so that they are able to achieve their goals. Number 3, debtors. People who are unable to deal with their money in a financial crisis often end up becoming debtors. These people aren't really trying to make a statement with their expenditures. In fact, they don't even shop or spend money so they can feel better. It's just that debtors care very little about money as a concept. They don't worry about not having it, and they definitely don't worry about borrowing it from other people. People with this financial personality type tend to spend way more than they earn. This is mostly because they don't really care about where they're spending the money. Also, they don't keep any tabs or checks on their financial statements or transactions. And because of this, they end up knee-deep in debt, which eventually takes a toll on their mental health and gives them a lot of stress. Number 2, shoppers. Shoppers are people who basically shop impulsively as a defense mechanism when they're faced by a financial crisis. People with this psychological style often develop great emotional satisfaction from spending money. This means that they really cannot resist the urge to spend money, especially if they see something they like. But even when they don't have a reason to send money, shoppers will go out and splurge on items that they don't need. It's also important to understand that the idea of retail therapy is very different from this condition. Retail therapy is supposed to happen infrequently and is done to de-stress occasionally. But people who make shopping trips obsessively, even when they don't have enough money, are caught in an unhealthy loop. Shoppers are slightly different from overspenders because they actively look for bargains, sales, and other ways to save their money. This means that they do worry about debt and are aware of the extra money they're spending. Number 1, not spending out of fear. People who face different kinds of financial crises during their life tend to develop a range of defense mechanisms to help themselves cope with their trauma. So when people face financial problems, a lot of them stop spending their money out of fear of overspending. The fear of overspending is actually quite real. Most people believe that if they spend even a little bit of money that they have, they're going to have a hard time making that money again. This also makes them constantly guilty, even when they're purchasing necessities for themselves. This is a hard but somewhat effective way of coping with the problem. When you limit your expenses out of fear of spending too much, you automatically have some money left over that you can either save or spend on priorities. But for some people, this can turn toxic too. Instead of spending the money on something else, they end up not spending at all, which is unhealthy because humans need to spend a little money on themselves once in a while. If they restrain themselves too much, they overthink all their expenditures and feel guilty for spending even the money that they absolutely have to. That was our list of 8 psychological styles of people dealing with money in a crisis. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this. See you in the next one.